With the iPhone 13 rumored to be announced by Apple in September 2021, there's indeed already talks about the iPhone 14 design specs. Insane really, but while that may seem like a lot to take in, if you're among the millions who could potentially FOMO into buying the iPhone 13, only to be blindsided when the 14 releases with the upgrades, you should understand some of these key differences between the soon-to-be current generation 13 and the next generation 14, as it may help you decide if it's worth sitting this one out and waiting for what are rumored to be some pretty big upgrades. So join us as we dive into the iPhone 14 and take a look at 3 reasons you may just decide that it's worth the wait. 1. The notch is dead. You've undoubtedly noticed the notch at the top of the iPhone display. It's that black part that houses the top speaker, camera, and Face ID technology that cuts into the display, leaving it to extend into 2 corners. The easy answer as to why it's there has already been said. It houses the speaker and camera system. Obviously, they need to stick that stuff somewhere, right? But that's the easy answer, and while it's true, it does not address the full extent of Apple's reasoning. The reality is that the notch is a design compromise. It's a flaw. But it foreshadows what is to come, something far superior that fits in perfectly with the same strategy Apple has held since its humble beginnings in 1976. Apple has made no secret of its design and technology philosophy. It believes technology works at its best when it essentially fades into the background. When an average user makes a swipe on their iPhone, they aren't thinking about all the processes happening under the hood, all the software and all the hardware working together in that split second. They're just swiping on a screen, doing something they need to do. Simple as that. Many often associate Apple with being obsessed with pretty, shiny looks and aesthetics. That's true to a degree, but much of Apple's design actually works toward a fundamental goal of being as minimal as possible, so as to not obstruct or distract from the core experience in any way. Just about every user interaction is carried out via the display. It embodies the entire experience. Following Apple's philosophy, the hardware that houses the display has slowly evolved to fade into the background as much as possible, letting the display take center stage. Understanding why the notch is there is to understand the purpose of the rest of the design. The front of the iPhone needed a camera, speaker, and secure mechanism for unlocking your phone, but there is no current physical way to build a speaker and camera into a display. Rather than spend lots of money investing in R&D to invent a way, Apple chose to make a sacrifice. Instead of filling the entire display, they would fill only as much as they possibly could. The result, corner-to-corner display with the exception of 2 areas. One is the tiny black bezel that surrounds the edges of the entire display, and the other is of course the notch, the single, condensed home for the necessary iPhone tech that must live independently from the display. In that notch you'll find the speaker, front-facing camera, sensors, and Face ID tech like the dot projector. So ultimately, the notch is there because it has to be. No other reason than that. That all changes with the iPhone 14 however, as it will reportedly be the first series to introduce the new under-display Touch ID while the iPhone 13 series, expected to launch next month, could be stuck with the notch Face ID that we have been seeing for a few years now. 2. Titanium chassis. A report by JP Morgan Chase said that Apple is looking to equip the Pro models in its iPhone 14 lineup, likely coming next year, with a titanium alloy chassis, as per a media report. This would be a first for the iPhone since Apple has previously used aluminum and stainless steel for their devices. Titanium is harder and more resistant to scratches, more resistant to corrosion, and lighter than stainless steel. However, titanium is harder to etch, and it's quite prone to fingerprint marks. Apple reportedly has a fix for both of these issues. It will do so by using an oxide coating that should get rid of fingerprints, as well as a new blasting, etching, and chemical process that should give titanium a glossier finish, as per the media report. 3. In-screen touch and Face ID. A new patent from Apple suggests that the company could be bringing under-display Touch ID for future iPhones. The Cupertino-based company has recently been granted a new patent for integrating biometric authentication into iPhones and MacBooks. The patent adds more strength to multiple reports that Apple will be going back to Touch ID for its iPhones. A number of recent reports have also suggested that Apple could be bringing all its devices, including iPhones, to recognize faces via Face ID eventually. This also further supports the idea that iPhone 14 will be notchless. According to acclaimed Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, by 2022 iPhones will convert to the hole punch design. And while this is more likely for the Pro version, Kuo claims we could see it trickle down the entire cycle's lineup. But it gets even crazier. Kuo then goes on to say that the 2023 iPhone cycle will get a full-screen display. No notch or cutouts. Just a screen. These fundamental changes will represent a clear transition from the past to the future for the iPhone. Consequently, iPhone 13 users may soon find that they are left with a relic as Apple pivots and moves one step closer to its vision of a minimalist technological utopia. Does more screen matter as much to you as it does to Apple? And is the iPhone 14 worth the wait? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our future videos.